What's up? Idaho 4. Um my initial reactions of the guilty plea today. It's hard to argue that Kohberger didn't have some involvement in what happened that night at King Road. I mean, he sat there and said, "I'm guilty, I'm guilty, I'm guilty, I'm guilty, I'm guilty" 5 times. This was, from a 20,000 foot view looking down, this was the dumbest plea agreement I've ever seen in my life. You're going to spend the rest of your life in prison with no appeals. And they're just moving the death penalty off the table for you. If it was me, kill me. I'd rather die. I ain't going to spend my life in prison. I'd rather die. Just kill me, get it over with. And that's just my opinion. But it was a crappy deal. And he sat there and he said, "I'm guilty." It makes me believe he's guilty. He has some involvement in what happened. There's no other explanation if I think about this logically. But I do not believe the whole Ted Bundy bullcrap they've been feeding us for 2 years. That's not the reason why this happened. There's no any way, shape, form about it. This was narcotics related. I'll never change my opinion on that. They're hiding evidence. They're hiding the true story. There was multiple expert witnesses coming out on the prosecution side and the defense side that were ballistic experts, firearm experts, trafficking experts. They studied in all these fields. I put two and two together. I'm saying the K-bar is bullcrap to me at this point, or maybe it's a half truth. I did a video a while back. I said, because of some insights I have in the trafficking world, I know a lot of times victims are, offed with a firearm, and then bladed weapons are used to send messages afterwards. And it's, I can't say, I'm just speculating. But I think there's a gun involved because the timeline makes 0 sense. I don't see how you unalive 4 people in that short amount of time with just blades, unless you just have an overwhelming force of people. They're hiding stuff. I think they're hiding the way these victims were, they passed. They're hiding the true narrative. They're feeding us serial killer bullcrap. And it frustrates me. So Kohberger said he's guilty. I'm going to take him at his word. I've believed he was innocent at this point because the evidence they have is very weak. They've got a very weak case, according to the PCA, that Bill Thompson just read from in the hearing today. I mean, he just spouted out a bunch of bullcrap, which makes me believe the real evidence is hidden in these sealed documents, and the real evidence was most likely going to come out at trial. The narcotics were going to be exposed. The trafficking was going to be exposed. The real motives in this case was going to be exposed. I know Bryan Kohberger is and was involved with narcotics. It's obvious. He was a junkie. I don't know how heavily involved, but you can add him into that narcotic world. You can connect him to that. I mean, his pupils are dilated at times. He's staying up all hours of the night, running and cleaning, according to his neighbors and stuff like that. Weird stuff. It's no doubt in my mind he was a user. So you can connect him to the trafficking world. Uh, I'm not exactly sure how big of a role he played in it. And I also want to show you something very weird. And I say this is weird because when you do a search warrant around the Bible Belt, places like West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky, and down south and places like these, when you go and do a search warrant in a house like this, just like Kohberger's parents' house, um, when they raided his place and took a bunch of stuff, one thing they took was a Glock 22, 40 Smith and Wesson, and that always stood out to me. It strikes me odd because when you go and do a warrant on places like this, houses that are in states like this, it's usually one or the other. Usually there's a bunch of guns in the house or there's no guns in the house. It's it's so uncommon just to find one gun in a house in states like this that are pro Second Amendment free states. So the fact that they just pulled one specific Glock 22, which may sound weird, it's not a 22 long rifle. It's the model 22, which is actually chambered in 40 Smith and Wesson, which is very capable of unaliving someone. And there's no other guns that are being pulled out of that house from that warrant in a state like Pennsylvania. Not a hunting rifle, not a shotgun. And there was also two knives that was pulled out of that house, two specific knives. Um, Not all the knives that were in the house because I know there's got to be multiple more knives in that house. Just as I feel, this is just me speculating, but I feel like there's probably a few more guns in that house too. But you look at the records, it's just one Glock, and that just strikes me weird because I know how search warrants go in places like that. You either find a bunch of guns or a handful of guns or none. People that are pro gun in these areas, they got a bunch of them usually. So that just strikes me odd. It's a very specific thing to put on the search warrant. And if you was hiding evidence and trying to fit in a serial unaliver narrative in this thing, well, if you're manipulating data, you wouldn't put all those guns, on record for people to see, along with a lot of other things. Other clues were left out of this investigation that connected this case to trafficking, in my opinion. Now there's a few more weird things that happen. The whole fire in Coeur d'Alene. I saw Sherlock Holmes's post about that. There's some weird stuff going on with that too. I can't rule that out of not being connected. And weird stuff going on. Weird stuff like Hitler when he announces the victims' names at the end, and Kohberger is pleading guilty. He says Maddie, Kaylee, and then he says Ethan, human being, Xana, human being. There was a couple legal terms left out there. It's just head scratchers. This is just a weird day. A weird, weird day. And I really don't know what to make of it, so I'm going to sleep on all this information. Take it in. I do not. I am not in the opinion of right now that he's in that Kohberger is in witness protection or anything like that. I think if they were going to do that, they would have done it 2 years ago, and they would have got this case out of the news cycle as fast as possible if he was some kind of undercover fed or anything like that. I'm not buying it at this point. If they were going to do something like that, they would have done it 2 years ago, in my opinion. Possibly. And that's just me speculating. But I'm going to sleep on this information. If anyone has any information that's eye opening or sparks interest about the whole fire thing in Coeur d'Alene, if anyone knows what I'm talking about, drop that in my comments because I might be looking into that for the next couple days. Thank y'all for listening. Um, and I'd like to pay my respects to the victims, Kaylee, Ethan, Xana, and Maddie. I'm sorry for what happened to y'all. I'm sorry for the families, and I hope we I hope we get real closure one day. Thank y'all for listening.